Alright, so we are back, and today we're going to be going over mainly the graphics part. At least I've forgotten anything. I don't think I have though. So we're going to mount game here. We can move around. We can collect our coins. So let's start off by going over having some, what are they called? Overlays here of how much score we have and how much money we have. No, life, sorry. Alright, so the way we're going to do this is we're going to have another scene. So we can go ahead and plus, and we can go new scene. This is going to be called overlay. Overlay. Alright, anyway, let's go ahead. Alright, so here's our main scene. So it's a completely blank scene. So what we want to go ahead and do is add a camera, Alt-R, Alt-G, move it up on the Y, and go ahead. Now we have our scene. So of course we want to go ahead and add a text object, and we can call this life. And we can press play. Make sure we're in Blender game, because when you start a new one, you're not going to be in Blender game. You can see life is equal to that. Alright, so one thing to note in our main scene, we also need to go ahead and change, clicking in, we can come down here. We can change this from the shading from multi-texture to GLSL. And also over here, you can also change it over here. If you come into the camera settings and down here, you can change it. And as you can see, it gives a whole lot more options. You don't have to have that, but for this tutorial, that's what I'm going to be using. So as you can see, the lighting's changed a fair bit, but we'll be working a bit more on the lighting stuff a bit later. So let's go ahead back over to our overlay scene, and life is going to be good, and we're also going to change GLSL so we can see that everything's working fine. So what we're going to go ahead and do is, for the sake of just checking this out, I'm going to change the background to black. So there we go, and the life is going to be equal to a number, in this case a 3, and I'm going to go ahead and move this across, and this goes down. Alright, so let's say I want to change this colour, I'm going to go with a kind of a bluish colour. Just go ahead and play. So you can see now we have a blue colour, might want it a bit darker. So actually, I think I'm going to go back with a white, and I'm going to give this a bit of a bluish colour, dark blue. There we go. That's kind of more of the effect I want. I'm going to scale this down as well. Maybe not. Right, so life is equal to 3. I think I'm going to keep it about the same size. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this over, and I'm going to say points. No. Point. By the way, if you want to go into text edit mode, you need to click tab. And what it's going to do is it's going to change it to edit mode. And then you can type the text you want. So now, you see points is equal to 3. In this case, I want it to be going out constantly though. So I'm going to go ahead and add an integer. I'm going to add a property, sorry. So I can go add, as you can see on text object, we have 2 different properties we can add. We can add game property and add text game property. And what a text game property does is we allow it to add one of these in, and it can be any of these types. So basically, let's say select timer. What this is going to do is the text is going to be equal to that. Now in this case, I don't really want that. It kind of looks a bit ugly with it going up, but that, as you see, this is showing off how it works. So in my case, I'm going to go ahead and get this text. And I want to say, if we get a message, sorry, not a message, if we add a delay, over time we're just going to get 3 points. So I'm going to manage the points on here. On this object here. So let's say, I'm going to say delay of 20, sorry. And every 20 ticks, I'm going to go ahead and add to text, which is this object here, 10. So now what you'll see is we need to change this to an integer, and now what you see is what is going on. So we need to change this to repeat, and I need to change this to 1. So here we go. As you can see, depending on how fast you want it, you can change this to like 1, and you get ridiculous amounts of points. Probably quite fast points is a lot better for this kind of game because it's what people expect out of it. But now that that's done, we kind of want a bonus power up kind of thing when the player gets more points. So we can say message, and we can go ahead and say something like point coins. Let's say coins. So the thing about messages is as long as both scenes are loaded in, you can send messages between them, which makes them really useful. So we can get our player, and you see when we collide with this one here with a coin, it changes property. But what we can go ahead and do as well is add a message, and we can connect that up to this bottom one because this is a collision for the coins, and we can send a message coins. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is go to overlay, and I'm going to go to the camera, and we're going to say something like this. What we're going to do, if we get coins, we're going to set the points to something quite big. So I'm going to go ahead and go add a property. So we connect it up to a property. I'm going to go add, and I'm going to go something like 50. So we can definitely see a change. So now you can see if we go into our game, or also known as scene, you can see if we collect some coins, which is quite hard to collect, you see is, so one thing to note is we can't see it showing up, and the way we make it show up is we need to come to the camera or any object. I just like the camera because it's kind of where it's kind of overlay it, so I think camera is a good place to put it. And you just want to add it always. A scene, and you want to set this to add overlay scene. Then you've got to go connect this up, and what an overlay scene does is it basically, if there's any of this background showing, so if this overlay scene, all the objects will show up, but the background will be transparent. So you'll see in a second if I go ahead and get this overlay scene and press play. As you can see, those text objects are showing up, but the background is just transparent. So as you can see there, when we collect our coin, it's kind of hard to collect one. Let's go ahead and collect another one. Should be working. Let's go ahead and collect a coin. Oh, I need to fix this up. Alright, let's just go ahead and hack this game and say every one tick. And also, one thing to note is you need to add a timer to that. 120 is probably good. If you didn't get it before, in the other video I put a little thing, you need to set the ticks on this add object to all of them to be 120 as well, or else they'll just exist forever. So what you should see now is we should be able to get lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of coins. Alright, so as you can see, we are easily getting the coins up a lot faster than we could if we were doing it normally. So you also might want to change the speed of this, and also the scale that your thing can move out that we did in the last tutorial, but it's up to you. I'm going to leave it, it should be fine for me. Alright, so I'm going to go something like back to something like 20, or actually I'm going to go 15, it was a bit sparse. Alright, so now that we have that set up, we have our score working, we just want to go ahead and do our life now. Now, the way I do it is not the best. What I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to go add a message, and we're going to go ahead and get the collision. So when we collide with hit, so it comes out of this one. When we hit an object, we're going to go send a message called minus life. So once we've got minus life, this is what I called it. What we can go ahead and do is come back to this overlay scene and come to here, add a property. This is going to be an integer text, and it's going to be a message on here. And when we get the message, it's going to be a property and we're going to go ahead and say add text, and we're going to say -1. Now, some of you might be saying use the copy, and I am pretty certain if we go ahead and name our player object something that we can easily find, let's call this player. Right, so now we know we could easily find that. Let's go back to overlay scene, let's select player, right, and we go ahead and select the coins, life. If we were to copy this, I believe this is not going to work. So let's go back to the main scene, so we might as well test this out. So as you can see, I don't think it's working. So no, it's not working. And if I go back just to make sure, and we go and add it always, cut this off and say we're going to update every tick. What you see is that, as you can see, it's not copying, so that's a real big problem. I would like that to be fixed, but sadly right now we don't have that fixed. So the way we can get around that is, it's not the best, because if you want to dynamically update the other thing, you have to send a message saying, oh, added 20 or added 10 or something. But in my case, I'm just going to say connect this up, and we're just going to go add, and we're going to say -1 to life. So what we can go ahead and do now is we can go back to scene, and we can go collide with something. And as you can see, when we lose a life, it goes down. So there we go. There it shows our lives. It's maybe not the best, but it works. Now let's fix this problem where you can just see stuff appearing. So first of all, let's make sure the render distance is far enough. So let's go 200. I don't think it's really going to make a difference. So no, it's not going to make a difference. So what we can go ahead and do is go mist and press play. And as you can see, the mist is way too strong. So let's go ahead and say something like 50, and this is going to be 80. Alright, so what you can see here is it is working. The mist might need to be a bit shorter. It's 40 and 30. So depending on the distance you want, you're going to have to do different stuff. In this case, I don't think this is going to work very well, so you might want to move this down a bit further. In that case, you're going to want to change this up to something like 150, and then copy, paste, copy, paste, and let's go ahead and play this. So we're not really going to see that, so let's go 50. And let's go 45. Alright, so now you can see the mist is a better length. Really depends on what you're going for. So there are all the points and everything working. And I do think everything's working fine. Now, what we want to go ahead and do is we want to... let me think for a little bit. We want to go ahead and... Let's go ahead and set up the menu and stuff like that, and then later on, towards the end of this tutorial, we actually make these assets. So let's go ahead and come over to another scene. So let's go overlay. Let's set up the die scene first. So when you die, we want to say if you can restart or if you can go to another scene. So replay. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is add a plane here, and what we're going to go ahead and do is going to go U reset. So what this is going to do is it's going to UV unwrap it. In this case, I think I'm going to leave this, but what you could do is you could set up a material. So what we're going to go ahead and do is I'm not actually going to make a full-blown texture one and stuff, but what you'll want to do on your first mesh thing here is you're going to want to set up a material or something. So let's go shadeless. Make sure we are in GLSL on the scene, and yep, everything's good. So I'm going to make this button shadeless, and I'm going to say it's blue. Right? So this is the first one. So this is going to be on pressed. Right. Now we can go ahead and duplicate this and call this button pressed. And we also want to go ahead and copy this to the mesh. Yeah. This one we want to go ahead and copy the name from this. Come on, let's go ahead and get the name. So just we can tell all the names. Unpressed, pressed. So we also want to go ahead and name this one. So this is going to be the second one. It's going to be button unpressed, and this one's going to be button. Wait, no, this one's going to be button pressed, and this one's going to be button unpressed. So basically, what you see here is we have two buttons, and I've just made two materials, and I've named the object button unpressed, the material, the mesh button unpressed. All right. And I've also done it with this one, so you can see two different ones. And the reason you have two different meshes is we can't change the material in real time now, or like move UVs or anything, which is a little bit annoying with like logic bricks and stuff. So the way we're doing this is we're having two meshes, so one pressed and one unpressed, and you could set up all the materials you want this and have this look like a pressed button, have this look like a unpressed button. So in this case, I'm just going to make sure that you can see it's, this one's going to be like hovered over, and this one's not going to be hovered over. I could probably change the names, but it's fine. It's kind of the same as pressed and unpressed. Now if I press play, making sure we're in Blender game, of course, you see we have two different buttons. Alright, so we can go ahead and create a new world here, and I'm going to change this to black. Alright, so let's go ahead and move this one to a second layer, or this layer down here. We don't really need it, we just need this main button. And I'm going to go ahead and add a mouse, and this is going to be a mouse over. And we're going to add an and a NAND. So what is an AND? It is basically the opposite of an AND. If all of them are negative, then it will put an output. So basically if the mouse is over it, this one's going to run. If the mouse is not over it, this one's going to run, which is quite useful for what we want to do. So we want to add an edit object, and we want this to be remesh. So I can go ahead and select my button pressed. Button unpressed, because that's when we're hovering over it. And on the NAND, we want to add another edit object and change this to remesh, and we want to go ahead and say button unpressed, because we want it to go back to normal. So what you should see now is if we go ahead and come back over here and show mouse cursor, what's going on? So let's go look at this. Alright, so I got the wrong one here. We need button pressed and button unpressed. So now when you see we hover over it, it switches. So that's useless to tell that you're hovering over it. Alright, so let's go ahead and finish this off with a little bit more. So I'm going to add a cursor here, a cursor to the main object here, and I'm going to add some text. And I'm going to go ahead and parent this to this object. So just go parent object. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom out until we find this. Move up. And we can kind of just scale it and so on to our needs. Now, also need to add a camera. Add a camera, Alt R, Alt G. Move this up. We're going to go ahead and go into camera view, move this camera up. And now what you'll see is we have our main object here all ready to go. So let's go ahead and let's change this to black. So you can see our text here. We could have this white if you like, but I'm going to leave it black. We can say, let's call this one start. Start. Alright, so this one's going to be start. Kind of move it to, it looks good. This is the annoying part about Blender and text. You have to kind of mess around with this. It's not the same as it is in the viewport as in the game. So let's go start. And we're going to go ahead and move this up, both of these, and I'm going to duplicate this. It's going to duplicate the mesh and the object and stuff, but I don't mind. I mean, you could go ahead and select this one and kind of delete the other one, but Blend is kind of annoying with deleting stuff, so I don't really mind. So let's go ahead and do that. So I've got this one, and this one can be menu. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and make this so you can hover over this, over start, or you can hover over menu. So now we have start or menu, which we want. So let's go ahead and make these buttons actually work. So first of all, the start one is going to take us back to the menu. Back to the game. So what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to add an and we're going to connect this up. So if we're hovering over it and we click the right mouse button, I believe, left mouse button, sorry, it's going to go and set the scene to the game scene, which is just named scene. Alright, so now if we connect this up and we press start game, it's gone back to our other scene, but of course the other scene is in the second layer, so that's a problem. So now you see, if we die, come on, it's about the only time you want to die in a game. It's going to take us to the screen, but you can see the points are still there showing up. So how do we fix this? Let's go back to overlay. Sorry, not overlay. We want to go to die, and we want to go ahead and add empty. And this is just going to have a always, and it's going to have a scene. And we're going to go remove scene, die. So now what you see is if we go press play, what's going on? Oh, I'm removing this scene, so it's not working. Oh, so we have to go ahead and remove, overlay scene. Alright, so now we can go start, and we can go ahead and die. Bam, and bam. Alright, so one thing to note is we have this problem with the mouse. So what we can go ahead and do is we can come and get the mouse cursor, get rid of that, and on this scene we can connect up to this always, to this and here, which is connected to this always. We can add a mouse, and we're just going to make the mouse visible by default, as you see here. By the way, if none of you knew, you have this mouse lock feature here. Just a quick tip if no one knew, because it's quite useful. Anyway, back to normal. So we have it on visibility, so when we play the game, it's going to be automatically visible instead of this, which is kind of statically always there. Alright, so let's go ahead and go back to our main scene, and we can fall, and we hit this object. Oh man, die, and we get the mouse. But when we start a new game, you see the mouse is still here. So, of course, we just have to come to our main scene. We have to go and head and add a always here. Empty just with always at the center. And this one's going to be, what do you think it's going to be? It's going to be mouse. And we're going to go ahead and just untick this visible. So now we can die. Die, come on. And now you can see the mouse shows up. We play the game, the mouse is not showing up. So we can basically go ahead and get this die scene, and we can use this for our main scene. So we can go copy, full copy, and we can call this main menu. Menu. Alright, so main menu, and we can just go ahead and leave everything the same. Everything's good, and we can just go ahead and, instead of a start game, we can go ahead and set this. Yep, start's actually good, and we can say exit. Move this across, and we can say we can grab this, and we can yep, everything's good there. So we just need to add a mouse and connect this up to an and, as well as this mouse, so over and mouse left button, and we can say game, and we can go quit game, and that's just going to quit the game. So now people can click exit. Let's go back to our die scene. So you could give this a better name, I probably should, and we can go ahead and do the same thing here. So mouse scene, and we can go set scene, and we can select main menu, connect this up, and then we can go ahead and connect this one up to here as well. So there we go. So now, man, what are we doing? What's wrong? I click this and it instantly kills everything. Alright, so I believe if we go to main menu, yeah, this is in the same place. So if we change this to tap, or we move it as well, what it should do is it should work fine. So what you saw there is the problem was it was in the same place, so when we click it, it would it would delete it instantly. So I'm not sure what's going on here. Yeah, I know what's going on in the other scene. I'll fix it. So as you can see before, when we click this, it would just hold it down and it would stay the same. So you could just move it, or you could do what I did and set it to tap so you don't have that problem. And also, I'm going to move it around just a little bit so it doesn't look the same as the other scene, which I don't want. So we can go menu. As you can see, you might want to change it up so it doesn't look like it's just skipping unless you want that. Alright, so now, what was going to... Oh yes, this thing isn't working here. So what's the problem? What we're using is the mesh from the other scene, which we can't use, which is kind of annoying. So what we can go ahead and do is just figure out this is mesh. What's the name of this mesh? So we in die, we need to go to main menu, select this, and this is mesh 3. So we can just go ahead and do the mesh 3. Mesh 3, and we can go. So we need to go mesh 3. That's press. Alright, actually, let's figure out what one this is. So it's pressed .1. So we can go pressed .1, pressed .001, and we can go here and go unpressed .003. So now this one works, and we just need to fix this one up here. So pressed .001 and unpressed .3. So basically what I'm doing here is this mesh on here is referring to this one, and this pressed one is referring to this other one we had on the other scene, and this is pressed .001. So because we can't use the meshes from the other scenes, right? So now we can go over and you can see that it's working again. So that bug was avoided, which I don't know if it's a bug, but it was annoying. So there is our main scene going. So let's go ahead and create some what's going on there? So the problem with that is we just need to be on the correct layer. So that should be pretty much all of that done. Here, start menu. Menu seemed to go to the wrong thing. So let's go back to die, menu. No, went to the right thing. I must have been clicking the wrong thing. I was clicking start. Anyway, now that's all set up. Let's go ahead and kind of make this game a bit more pretty. So let's go back to scene. And let's get these main objects and let's make them look nice. So first of all, I'm going to kind of stretch them out so we have some nice big areas to instead of them being inside of each other. So let's go ahead and see how I set up that main style. So the way I do it is what you'd think I might have done is I might have created like a texture for each color, but the thing about that is I'm pretty sure, I'm not a computer scientist, but I'm pretty sure that each one of those textures, I shouldn't keep making them, creates a draw call. And the more draw calls you have in a scene, the kind of the slower it gets. I'm sure it wouldn't be too big with just having them for all the colors in here, but there is a better and simpler way to do it, and that you can go ahead and use GIMP, and you can create a new texture, and you could say 400 by 400, let's say, height to width. And what you can go ahead and do is, or actually could even make it smaller, in my case it's fine, you can go ahead and select a region, and you can say, you've got to figure out kind of the colour scheme. So I could say, I kind of want a wood colour scheme. Let's say some wood, not a very nice wood. Yeah, I like that better. There's more the type I had in my game. Oh wait, I can just flip these around. Alright, so there we go. Yeah, it's more of the wood I liked. And let's say we want kind of a stone, concrete kind of colour. We could go ahead and say that. Alright, and what other kind of colour could we have? Just for fun, blue. It doesn't really matter what colours you have, they're kind of, it's your choice what colours you want. I'm just picking some random colours. You can go with these colours if you like. Bit of green in there for fun's sake. Now you could actually fit a lot more different colours in here if you wanted. And you don't really need a texture this big at all. Or you could have one a lot smaller. But anyway, what is done is done. So I'm going to go ahead and export this. So you want to go export as, or export, I just like export as, and I'm going to go to documents, which we're already in. And let's say we're going to call this coal underscore, I'm just going to call this coal. I can't think of anything else. Just for shorten for color. And we're going to go ahead and grab our scene. And we're going to go ahead and grab this. And we can scroll down. And we can close all of these. Close all of those. You don't actually need to close all of those. But I can call this tile underscore coal. And we can go ahead and make sure this is assigned to each one. So we can tile underscore coal and tile underscore coal. Alright, so now we have all of those. What we can go ahead and do is open up and documents, coal, open that up. So now what we can go ahead and do is I'm going to make this a shadeless material. And the reason it's not showing up here is because this is new UV image editor. What we need to go ahead and do is go to the texture tab, open new texture. Let's select that coal from the list. And now you can see suddenly everything's brown. So let's go ahead and kind of set up something. So I'm going to go Shift S, Shift H, and it's going to hide everything but this. And I'm just going to kind of quickly set up some stuff. So let's add a beam. And scale this up. And move this up. Move this across. And kind of just make a beam. Or whatever you want. It's really up to you what you want to do. And I want this to be UV on reset. And I can scale this down. And we're going to make this beam a nice concrete-ish kind of colour. We can rotate this, and we need to not be in individual origins. We need to be in this mode. I'm going to kind of just, yep, that's good. I think that will be a good thing. So you can just do a lot of stuff. Maybe you want a bit of bevel here. Maybe not the best place to put it actually, but I could say duplicate, rotate. And depending on how many objects you have, this is going to take longer or shorter. But that should be fine for that one. Oh, I don't want to do that. I want to go Alt H to unhide everything. Let's go ahead and grab this one. U, reset. And let's go ahead and make this blue. And so now you're going to want to do something nice and not ugly like what I'm doing here. You've got to spend a little bit of time on it. I'm just personally not spending too much time on it. It is a tutorial. Let's go ahead and get this last one. Go U. reset and scale. Let's move this across here, and that's like a board kind of thing, I guess. Now my one actually had nice little boards and stuff at the side, but in this case I am going to leave it. Alright, so now what you're going to want to go ahead and do is make a save. So I'm going to go ahead and save. So save as, and I'm going to go I'll just go ahead and do that, and we'll go and save. So now that this is saved, you want to make sure you have a clean save so you can come back here if anything goes wrong. What we're going to go ahead and do is bake lighting for this. So the way you can do this is a bit hard. So what we're going to want to go ahead and do, select all of these objects. The reason we save it is this can be a bit destructive. Actually, I'm going to need to move these away because these things are coming through. It can be kind of hard to undo. It can be annoying to undo, actually. So I'm going to select all of these objects. Oh, come on, select them. Alright, so now I've got all of these objects, right? What we want to go ahead and do is change to Blender Render, and what this is going to allow us to do is come down here to the world settings, and you're going to be able to change all this ambient occlusion stuff. So I'm going to enable ambient occlusion, multiply, and change your samples to something like 20, or however much your computer can handle. Lower numbers, you're going to have less quality, it's going to be more noisy. High numbers, it's going to have a lot nicer, smoother, but it is going to take a lot longer. So we want to also change the bake to ambient occlusion. Now, you're saying, do I have to bake a texture for each of these? Well, no, you don't. What we're actually going to do is since we don't want to have more material for each tile, we're just going to bake all of these into the same UV map. And you say, how did you do that? Well, you can go select all your stuff, unwrap, light, map, pack. So we click that, and what you can see is we have a bunch more options here, and what we can go ahead and do is we can say all selected mesh objects, new UV map, and the reason we want to save is if this goes wrong, we need this new UV map. It's hard to get rid of this new UV map and this new image. It can be a bit of a problem. Now the size, it really depends on your game. I think I'm going to up it to double the size. So if you know, you can do math calculations here. If you're lazy and don't want to figure out the maths in your head. So I'm going to have it quite a big size, and everything should be good here. Pack quality, pack margin, everything looks good. Let's go OK. And now you can see here, if we go to each one of them, you can see it's working. Now, one thing to note is that what we want to go ahead and do is on this main texture in here, you can see all of that's messed up. It's not good. What we can go ahead and do is scroll down, and from the UV we can select UV map 1, UV map 2 maybe. Yes, UV map 2. Alright, so the names are a bit messed up. You might want to change those. Sometimes I find it's a bit hard, but UV map 2 is the one we want. Now, what we can go ahead and do is we have UV map 1 ready and free and bake. So what we can go ahead and do is select all of these, and we can go ahead and bake ambient occlusion. Alright, so now that ambient occlusion is baked, we can go back to our object, our material, and we can go ahead and go new. We can go ahead and open up this light map. It's even got the name light map, which is awesome. And we can go ahead and say blend mode, multiply. And as you can see now, what you'll see is if we come back here and play the game. What is going on? You can see that the maps are showing up, but something is seriously wrong here. So I will figure that out in just a second. But as you can see, the maps are showing up and it's all working fine. Alright, so I have a theory why this is not working what we want to go ahead and do is we can't have these in OR. That was a mistake. Now we should have everything working fine. Alright, so the way we can fix this up is we can go ahead and add an actuator and connect this up to all of them. And what this is going to do is this actuator sensor is if random is positive, then it's going to update all of these. So now it's not working. So if random, if that's wrong, it's going to invert it. And as you can see now it's working. So that was the problem, and that's how you fix it. So you need a inverted actuator sensor, and what this is going to do is it's going to update all of them, so it's never going to be broken. So I will actually put that into the first tutorial, but that is how it works. So there we go. Now you can see all the stuff's working. The side of things need to be scaled a bit so it works. But now we have baked ambient occlusion. We have the points list going up. We have all of this working exactly how we want. So let's see. Everything should be good here. You can collect coins. We can collect everything. If you want to add sounds, what you can go ahead and do is when this collides, what you can go ahead and do. So any of the collision sensors or update things, you can go ahead and play a sound, and so on. So that's pretty simple. Also, if you have many collisions at the same time, you don't want the sound just restarting, what you can go ahead and do is when that happens, add an object called, hit sound, and what will happen is we'll add it and it will play the sound, and when the sound's over, it will end. So you just have a delay on here, and you figure out the length of time with delay, and then when the delay runs out, it just runs the end object, which can be quite useful, so you can have lots of overlapping sounds, which can be a problem sometimes if you don't do that. But there we go. So let's go ahead, and in the next episode I'm going to be going over, if you want to see it, I'm just going to be finishing up by creating a little basic player and just a few finishing touches to finish this off. But there we go. This is the base things, and a few things do need to be fixed, and we did not texture the coins. They just can't be textured, but there we go. There is, you can texture them by yourself. It's not that hard. So let's go ahead and, what am I saying? Next tutorial I'm going to be going over how we can make the player character, just a few finishing touches to finish off the game and make it a good game. But here we go. This is the end of this week's tutorial. You can see those lines. That's just because it's not the things are not connecting quite right. So you just might want to scale the objects up a little bit on the Z-axis. But there we go. Everything's working, and this is the end result of this tutorial. In the next tutorial, I will be going over how we can do it. So let's have